Hello and welcome to the Lou Review podcast. I'm your host, Rosa Hart, and joining me today is Lauren Coulter. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Lauren, you are the co-founder with your husband of Biscuit Belly, right? And
Yes.
the self-proclaimed chief biscuit eater.
Yep.
And
Don't be coming for my job, people.
Don't be coming for your job.
Yeah.
We might give you a run for your money. So, in case you haven't heard of it yet, Biscuit Belly is the Louisville brunch brand that just pulled off the biggest move in its history last month in July, because we're recording this in August. Biscuit Belly acquired 35 Maple Street Biscuit Company locations from Cracker Barrel, more than tripling its footprint overnight and putting this hometown company on track for over 60 restaurants by 2028. Yes. Now, Lauren is a pharmacist turned restaurateur, and her journey from Louvino wine bars to national biscuit empire is one of the best entrepreneurship stories to come out of Louisville. So I am so stoked to talk to you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You make it sound a lot more fancy than I feel like I am these days.
Well, that's totally understandable. And that just goes to show you're a down-to-earth human being. But I mean, that's what I love about Louisville founders is they're real people who did great things, and they might have been impossible, but with visionary people who have like grit and tenacity, it can be done. So
yes, tenacity. That's a good word for it.
Yeah. I picture tenacity as hanging on for dear life.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I actually recently, our team did a little, kind of one of these things where you're finding your gifts or your talents. And one of mine was tenacity. And I have seen that play itself out. And I'm like, oh, that's such a nice way to say, like, I'm like a dog with a bone and will not let go of something until I feel like, oh, okay, it's good. Or my other one was galvanizing and like getting people on board, to see an idea or a vision to move through. And I just thought, okay, these are really good words to say what I feel like I am good at, but also they're like the positive spin on it. It's like when you're your kid's kindergarten teacher says that they have leadership. It's like they're bossy.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to do it.
Say that.
I bet they got it honest.
Exactly. 100%. I'm like, that's 100% me. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, anyways, I'll digress. Yeah, this is
you're right. Like my son's kindergarten teacher was trying telling us about him talking and everything. And I was like, between me and his dad, he doesn't have a chance. I'm really sorry.
Well,
it's nature plus nurture.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, so just so you know, you and I haven't met in person before, so you may not know, but my day job and career has been in nursing. And so when I found out that you started your career as a pharmacist, I was like, yes, I can't wait to hear about this. So tell me how you went from pharmacist to entrepreneur at first.
Well, really, this is my husband. He is truly the visionary. Like gets these kind of crazy ideas. And actually the very first night that I met him back when, we were young, and I asked him, what do you want to do when you graduate pharmacy school? And he said, I want to own my own business. And I made the incorrect assumption that meant his own pharmacy. And, and so we both graduated and both got pharmacy jobs, but we started going down the path of looking at different companies and, really different franchise organizations, because we didn't want to have to figure everything out. I mean, there's a lot that goes into running a business, right? Like all people see is the plate with the food, but all the technology that's required to go into that, all the promotion. So having a, franchise or licensing sort of process, we thought was a good way to learn. So we opened up the Louisville's first paint and drink place, which was called Uptown Art. I don't know if you ever went there.
Yeah, I've seen it.
But on Bardstown Road. And it did really well. There was people came to that like crazy. We still worked full time. So that was truly a night thing that we had a great manager who we knew from actually, oddly enough, from like our whole hometown. She also had moved to Louisville and was just super personable, an artist. And so that went really well, but we recognized that it was probably going to be kind of a trendy thing to do. And after 3 years or so, we were like, it probably makes sense to sell it. So we sold it, got out, and then used that money to open open Louvino, the first one of those.
Yeah.
And it was on Bardstown Road.
Okay, the Bardstown Road is the first one, and then I'm more likely to go to Douglas Hills location because that's near me in Middletown.
Yes. So it did well. We opened a second one. I think that we had 2 or 3 by the time that Chad decided to go part-time in his pharmacy role. And then ultimately he left there to just focus on restaurant world. And then we opened up another couple, Louvino. We had a total of 5. A lot of people in Louisville don't realize that we had 5 of those. And, 2 in Indianapolis area, 1 in Cincinnati, and 2 here in Louisville. So in between stores 4 and 5, I mean, he had been bothering me for years. Like, let's open up a biscuit place. Let's open up a biscuit place. And I was like, where we're from, yes, people like the biscuits, but nobody in Louisville is going to like this. It's,
and you're from Georgia, right?
Gosh, yes, I'm from Georgia. So, he grew up in a little country town right outside of Athens where I grew up, where, they would get biscuits from like the Golden Pantry. And they were delicious. It was what you did. Yeah. And so he just always had this idea, like, let's do this. And then we started seeing some other biscuit brands popping up. And I think we were out in Oregon. We had Pine State biscuits. We saw some things, I think, in Nashville with Biscuit Love and in Asheville Biscuit Head. And so just really thought, okay, I was like, maybe he's onto something. So we decided to open one here in Louisville. And at that point, let's see, we had 4 Louvino locations, opened the first Biscuit Belly, opened a 5th Louvino, opened the second Biscuit Belly, and it was December of 2019. And so I had stepped back to part-time to just help him basically be an admin, like literally fill out papers. Like that's all that I did to help him. People don't realize how much just filling out paperwork you do as a business owner. But we decided that I would leave my job and work with him full time. So in December of 2019, I put in my notice for March of 2020. And literally my last day at Humana was the day they sent everyone home because the first employee had COVID. And so here we're entering this exciting stage of life, and then like all the restaurants get closed. And I mean, I'm still like, when I think back to that time, oh my God, I mean, it was pretty traumatic. And our teams, like I will never get over just some of the mental turmoil that a lot of our team members had at that time. And I mean, and even us, I mean, my husband, like it all worked out that I was able to be a bit more of a presence and support what we were doing, because he, had to put on this face for 200 employees. And then, and really, he's like, I have no idea. Everyone has questions and I have no answers. Right. And, when you're having to be the strong one for everyone else, he just really needed the support of another person. So for that reason, it was good. Financially, it was terrifying because for the first time, neither of us had an income and no health insurance. And it was just crazy. So, but we had to really go all in on making this work, figuring it out, and kind of one of those like failure isn't an option. How do we get through sort of moments that I think when you look back, it's easy to say, okay, this set us up for success, down the road, but it was still incredibly hard. So I don't know. I still have like heart palpitations when I think
right.
Ooh, so yeah.
Yeah, that really rocked the whole world. But definitely our restaurant community. I mean, that's really actually how this podcast started, because in 2020, where Louisville was known as, the place of Breonna Taylor, my friend and I wanted to, spread some positivity and also support local restaurants as they were like reopening. So we did our first podcast episode July of 2020 when
that's great.
it started opening again, to showcase, okay, this is the precautions that are being taken and it still tastes really good. And this is how things are spaced out so you can eat outside or inside to feel safer. And we did have a lot of takeout. And so we would review takeout and interview business owners about what they were doing and just really spotlight those people. So
thank you. Thank you for
hear what you're saying about. I remember that year for real. That's how we started. Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then how long was it that you kept Louvino before you sold that to focus on Biscuit Belly?
Well, oddly enough, we had also in March of 2020 gotten an offer from someone who wanted to purchase it. And so we were like, okay, we need to focus on one thing. Like, we were obviously spread very thin, having a breakfast concept and a nighttime concept. It was just totally different worlds. And we really had to figure out, what can we grow? What's the easiest to replicate? What is like training like and onboarding like and things like that. And for Louvino, I mean, we had 60, 70 wines by the glass. Like, you can't just train someone in a day and then be able to really be helpful. And so it was just a super long process. Also, just the build outs for a nighttime space, they were stunning restaurants, but they cost a lot of money. And so from a economical perspective, as well as just, what really makes sense for us, we decided to go with the breakfast concept. And so, we went all in on that. Also, just from a quality of life perspective, I mean, we had a 2-year-old, I think at the time, I don't even know at this point, 2019, something like that, 2 or 3-year-old. And we're just trying to figure out, okay, what sort of life do we want to live? And breakfast restaurants, no way, they definitely don't do, the sales that a nighttime sort of shindig does. But it was okay because we could, we were closing at 2 or 3. We could have our evenings to be together. And so it was just kind of a better fit for what we wanted.
Well, that's a really good point. I didn't think of that, like, closing early, giving you time with your family at night instead of if your restaurant's open breakfast through supper, then if you're the owner and you got to hold it together, then it could be all day, every day.
Well, and even for team members, I think it's so much easier to get great team members for a breakfast concept. I mean, for instance, like my son's school gets out at 3:20. And so the car rider line is chaos, and his school, he goes to a public school, but it's a traditional school. So it does not have buses. So there's 600, parents coming through that line. And so, it's a whole thing, but it's great from that perspective because like we can employ, a mom that wants to be home with their kiddos at night. So they can, go pick their kid up from school and still feel very engaged in their life. And I don't know, just people that are applying for roles in the morning, like they just tend to be a little bit more like happy-go-lucky people. So I think it helps with retention. People, they value that quality of life thing. It's very important to everyone. And also, I mean, the data also tells us with team members, like quality of life is a lot of times more important than, salary or certain pay or certain benefits. So people are making different choices than, maybe how I was raised. And so it's nice to be able to offer some of that to people that want it.
Exactly. Like when we were growing up, they were really glorifying the hustle culture and like working yourself to the bone. And like, I think COVID taught us all that quality of life is what it's all about because we don't know how long it's going to last.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, then, tell us about how you got to the point where you're talking about acquiring Maple Street Biscuit Company.
My goodness. It has been, I will tell you, so today is, what's today? August 16th. So the sale that closed on July 20th. We started having these conversations with them back in December, but it wasn't until March or April that it was like all systems go. And I'm going to tell you, you want to talk about the hustle. Like we have been hustling since then. And this actually yesterday afternoon, Chad and I, my husband went and just took a walk. It's a bajillion degrees, but we just took a walk and walked up to Douglas Loop and sat in Monet's and got a coffee and just talked and engaged with one another for the first time in probably like 2 months of, you know what I mean? Just not being like running past each other or barking at each other. Like, have you done this? Have you done this? And so the last couple weeks, I mean, we have been in it, and leading up to it, you know, our team knows, but we had to keep it pretty tight. We were able to tell some vendors, but not everyone, because, you know, you tell people at DoorDash and Lord knows what's going to happen. So it's just, it was really, really a challenge to make it all happen. And I feel like we did as good of a job as we could do, but there were still so many things that popped up that, you know, a system that Maple Street used that we had no idea they used, because the people that are like doing the deal aren't in the weeds on like, they need this type of printer to print. And so, I mean, Chad and I have become like tech gurus. I know how to have multi-device management, like things that no one knows about. Like,
Right.
we are experts now at internet service providers and, you know, all these things. So it's just been crazy. And when the deal closed, Chad and I divided and conquered. Like he went out to Texas and kind of came back, and I went down to Tampa, Florida, and worked my way up. And we each just visited every store. We really wanted those people to know us and to know that, you know, we're not a big, you know, Fortune whatever company with, you know, stock options. Like it's Lauren and Chad, and our mortgage is on the line. And so it is. It is very important to us that we take care of people, and because we think it's reciprocal, you know. So it was important to us that we are meeting them, that we know them. I've been writing the folks I met thank you notes. So just like, hey, thanks for taking the time, you know, to stop what you're doing and be at the store and meet me. And I only got to spend, you know, 3 hours and some change, you know, taking people out to dinner and stuff like that as well with these folks, but they're trusting us. And so we're really working hard to build that trust, engage with them early. And then, so we spent 2-ish weeks doing that. And then we've spent the last week totally changing up the technology piece. So Cracker Barrel has a proprietary like point of sale system. So when you go in, you know, how you place your order and all of that with the transition had to be changed to what we are using. So 2 weeks ago, we tested one a day for 3 days. And then this past week, we did about 10 stores a day, transitioning them. And, you know, we don't have a huge team. So it's like Chad and I, and Chad's calling all the internet people. And I bet that we have received, you know, 5,000 emails and phone calls. And it's just this week, like the first 2 weeks of meeting everybody was physically exhausting, but this past week was more of the mental, like I have such decision fatigue. My brain hurts. You know what I mean? So by Thursday night when we were done, I was like, I want to hear any words. I want to just sit and pray that this all doesn't fall apart tomorrow. So, and I mean, it's even gone through this weekend where we're having to chase down issues and, you know, why is this printer printing 2 receipts and this chicken something isn't showing up on the right KDS? I mean, those are all things that we have to really manage too. But I think what they've seen is a couple, you know, who own this thing that are in it with them. And, you know, when they're setting up their store at 6 a.m., I'm like, hey, your TV's working. No? Okay, let's troubleshoot that. And then we're working through the whole day with them. So I'm really trying to do what we can to build trust so that they know that we're in this together.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. You're really bringing the literal mom and pop feel to all of these locations.
Yeah, and I think that's the funny thing, even for people that don't know, or not for necessarily people that work for us, but like, salespeople or people out in the community, they're like, wow, that's incredible that y'all did this thing. Gosh, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, we tired. Like, this isn't just,
and it's
you know
not
what I'm
done.
saying? I mean, when we get home, like Chad and I just look at each other and then we're like, bye, good night. And we're like exhausted. And so I don't know. It's been fun. It's definitely been a learning experience. It's also been the hardest thing. I would say it's probably the hardest thing that I've ever done. And I think it's probably the hardest thing most people on our team have ever done. We've got some like incredible people from Texas Roadhouse and Torchy's Tacos, like places that have also gone through these great stages of growth who we are just soaking it in from. And they are out, with the team in the weeds doing the things. But I mean, I think everyone is also having a lot of fun. Like that's one of our core values. It's chase big, keep it fun. Like we're going to do these hard things, but we can at least enjoy ourselves while we do it,
And it's going to work out because you're going to make it work out. Yeah.
Really hope so.
Exactly. I believe it. I believe it. And I mean, I just absolutely love this whole journey. There's just so much to it, from you and your husband meeting in pharmacy school to doing a paint and sip thing with Uptown Art to starting the Louivinos, which are still going on after you sold them, and now Biscuit Belly acquiring Maple Street Biscuit Company. Like, this is an incredible story, Lauren, and I love what you were building and how you're really like bringing it together and like taking something that was very corporate America and making it more like hometown feel in the culture. And to your point about retention, that is so what we need. People are lonely and they need to feel connected to people. So I think that's so important that you're instilling that in the culture.
Well, the thing too for us is in visiting each of those stores, that's actually something Maple Street did really well.
Good.
When they've got these guests that they know by name. They come in every day. One of the stores, a gentleman comes in every morning with his coffee and he brings his paper and then he leaves it. And then this group of ladies come in at, an hour later and they read his paper. And it is just this whole, I think
That's
that
so
they
cute.
have done that part really well, been, in their community. I think where we have real opportunity there is just kind of what people are looking for when they go out into a space. I think people are wanting something a little bit more lively. And if you've ever been to a Maple Street, they're pretty dark. Like they're very like woody, I would say, like woody.
Like Cracker Barrel is woody. Lots of wood paneling.
Yeah. Yes. I would even say like deep darker woods and
like man cave.
Yeah, like man cave, like reds and golds and browns, whereas we're more like light, bright, airy, bright blues and teals and yellows. And so it's a different feel from that perspective. I feel like the vibe is very different, but they have still managed to capture this guest that likes to come in. They know, hey, I see Adrian, or oh my goodness, I was at one store. It was so great. I was at a store and I hadn't yet like taken an order on their point of sale system. I had played with it, but I hadn't had a guest come in, and the team was short staffed. And I said, oh, I'll do this. I said, hey, I'll take your order. Is it difficult? And the woman started giggling and her husband's like, oh, you don't know Suzanne's order? And Suzanne's like, here's what I like. I like this plate and I want 2 spoons and I want extra grits and I want da-da-da-da. And so I'm like, oh, Lord. And so I texted the GM and I said, cause she was on PTO, and I said, girl, I just got baptized by Suzanne. And she's like, oh my goodness. But Suzanne is like, girl, you picked a rough week to start with this whole them being purchased stuff. And I'm like, I know. Like, Suzanne has no idea that it's me, and she's like, let me tell you, I really just hope they take care of these people because they're the nicest people. I'm like, yep, I think they will. I think they're pretty good people, So that part has been fun. It's like not undercover boss, but it's got these little elements of it, because people are just see me as this little, girl bebopping around and they have no idea. So that part's been, I think, really fun and really what fills my cup at the end of the day. Getting the technology right is necessary. It is not what fills my cup.
Once you get it out of the way, so it doesn't have to be a thought in anybody's mind and they can focus on those relational interactions.
And that's what people don't realize. It's challenging. Like the teams undergoing change management, system change is hard. Like people don't like change. And then, it's all new to them and they're frustrated because where they usually clicked this is now like click, 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 And so we attempted to be really intentional around it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is hard. And so these team members at Maple Street, they're being put through it just from that perspective. So I keep giving them shout outs. I keep trying to send them like love, this is hard. You guys are going through this transition. This is challenging, but just being all on the same system, being able to kind of work together in that regard will make us all, better overall. So
it's awesome. And so you and I are both not from Louisville, but we sunk our roots in real hard once we got here. Before we started filming, you were telling me that you moved here in 2009 and I moved here in 2010. So now that you have got your roots in and then expanded out, what do you think that having a business that started here grow to be like a national brand in 60 locations is going to mean for Louisville?
Well, I think Louisville has such a rich history in the food and beverage space. With Papa John's starting here, KFC starting here, and Texas Roadhouse starting here, like we've got so much, just so many brilliant minds in this community, especially related to food and beverage. I was at a graduation party for someone and a guy was there who is, senior something at Texas Roadhouse, and just having that access, right, to be able to have this chill, relaxed banter with this guy I had never met. And someone said, "Hey, these are the Biscuit Belly people." And immediately, we hear his name. He had been talked about in Kent Taylor's book, which, little PS, if you haven't read Made from Scratch by Kent Taylor, it's so good. And it came out really when we needed it. We had actually shut down a couple stores, but it made me feel like safe and seen because Kent Taylor shut down a bunch of stores too. Like he did all these things that were not, did not do well. But having that access and really being able to see what we could become, I think is so important. And, we hear that, we see that, people talk about it a lot with kids, like they can't become what they can't see. But even for a small business owner, to me, having team members who come from a Texas Roadhouse and started with them at store 3 and grew them to, 300, 400, 500 stores, that's incredible. And so they're coming in telling us like, here's how you get there. Here's what that path looks like. And I just think that's so important to where we are. We're very, I would say, lucky in that sense, having it just be in our backyard, of course. And then, Louisville, I know you have this or experienced this, is the biggest small town where everyone is connected to everyone. So, very easily when we first started franchising years ago, I was like one phone call and then was connected to the guy who did all of the development agreements. So all of the work that goes into the contract when you do a franchise of like, here's all your locations and what they would look like and how many locations an area can support. I was hooked up with him, and it was like 1 hour of just chatting with him would probably cost me like $5,000 from some bougie consultant. Well, this dude's just chatty. And people in Louisville are so willing to share what they know. I feel like it's very much a rising tides lift all boats city. So
Yes.
I mean, I love that. That's exactly how we are. We're, just always like, especially the food community here. Every restaurant person shows up at your openings because they're like
Yeah.
cheering you on. I that's so important to me. So yeah, I think just having that access and it being kind of like we're not a New York City with a bajillion restaurants, but the ones that have done well and really grown, it's special from here. And so I don't know, I feel very grateful that all of this happened in this space.
Yeah, definitely. So, what would be your advice to a local founder who's listening right now, who's dreaming bigger than maybe one day having more than one storefront?
Yeah. And I talk to people who are thinking about the second and third all the time. And I really, I mean, you have to just do it. The only way that you're going to know what's working and what's not working is to open up multiple locations. And, we have, store numbers 1 through 60. And for us, stores 3, 4, and like 10 closed. So you have to figure out what isn't working to also know what works, right? And it's hard. Like I don't ever want people to think that this is easy. I mean, people all the time are like, "You guys are an overnight success." And I'm like,
Mm,
"What world are you on? I've had
for a
6 years of
decade.
this overnight, like
Right.
365 2,000 nights of this of it just being like a grind. And it will be a grind. But I do think having a good support, like Chad and I very much work together. We stay in our lanes. I'm responsible for these things. He's accountable for these things. And we don't cross over. Like I stay out of his stuff and he stays pretty much out of my stuff. Now he's a classic visionary. So he's always trying to like tinker with everything. But overall, I think having that is incredibly important. And I mean, I was having, freak out yesterday and he's like, "It's okay, Lauren. Like, here's why we are doing these things." Having that balance is so important. But I don't want to paint a picture ever that it is easy and turnkey because it's
But you're
not.
just not going to know what works till you try.
Yep, absolutely. And so you
Well, I
try
think
and
that's really
fail
good
and try
advice.
again. Yeah.
Right. And that's just, it's really hard to make that leap and do the trying as it is a risk, right? But there's just
Yeah.
not much reward without risk, is there?
Yep. No, I mean, I think that it's easy to look around sometimes and feel like what you see on Instagram or, news stories, people in business on LinkedIn. Ugh. It's easy to see like, oh, these people are just killing it. And
Uh-oh, now
uh,
you're one of those people that's out there killing it. Watch
I
out.
know, and that's the funny thing, right? Is like some of the people that I look to, I mean, they're really struggling, and so we all are going to have those highs and those lows, and you got to make it. Like we do not, hire a million people. Our team probably gets more annoyed that we aren't hiring, but it's with intention. Like I don't ever want to be like, "Hey, we have to lay 10% of you off, so let's figure this out," Um, we are really, Chad and I are going to work our little booties off to make sure we can maintain and not have to downsize. So, I mean, it's a challenging space right now for sure. Food and beverage.
Definitely. But Louisville is a great place to be doing it at. And I cannot
Woo.
wait to see all these new Maple Street Biscuit Companies turn
Yes.
into Biscuit Bellies over the next couple of years.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
for people who are interested in exploring Biscuit Belly for the first time, where can they find you at online?
Whew. Oh, biscuitbelly.com. We're
Mhm.
physically in a lot of places in the Southeast. And if you have a Maple Street that's handy around you, it will very likely be transitioning to a Biscuit Belly over the next 2 years. We're actually starting in September. We'll be opening our first Flipper. We got 2 in September, a couple in October, November. So yeah, it's about to get crazy. Be ready.
Nice. So I will have a link to the website and your social media accounts in the show notes so people can follow along with the journey because it's an exciting transition. And so for our listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode of the Lou Review podcast, be sure you leave us a comment and let us know what you learned and how you're so inspired by our Louisville people who are impacting the whole country because that's what they're doing. This episode is made possible by the Lou Review Foundation, which exists to support our local business owners and nonprofit leaders who are making Louisville a great place to be. So be sure and like and subscribe wherever you're listening, or if you're watching on YouTube. You can follow my journey as I explore these places with lots of visual aids on Instagram and TikTok at Rosa Raves. And I will see you in the next episode.